2 more hours left.
I know.
And I'm gonna throw to you for this SB Nate. Oh, we're gonna
make me work.
No,
okay.
we're gonna work.
Okay, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We're good. SB Nation says the Kings are on or one of 6 teams that they project to be better this season than last. This is nice to hear.
Very nice to hear.
This is nice to hear.
What a welcome surprise.
Yeah. Let's get into it, Chris.
Yeah, let's get into it. So again, SB Nation has the 6 teams that they think will improve from from last season into this season. And the Kings are one of the 6 teams mentioned. You love to see the Kings getting that kind of recognition. As we talked about earlier, they just kind of perennially get dumped on. And so it's really nice to see them kind of be talked about in a positive light. This is the write-up on the Kings. The Kings have won 48 games and 46 games respectively the last 2 seasons, which feels incredible coming off a 16-year playoff drought. Sacramento knew it needed to make a bold move to keep pace with the West, and that's where one DeMar DeRozan comes in. DeRozan just turned 35 and plays a ball-dominant style without much defense, but he's still very good. There are a few players alive with a steadier hand in crunch time. One of them might be his teammate De'Aaron Fox. He remains fantastic at getting to the foul line and protecting the ball. He specializes in making the type of shots opposing defenses want to give up. The Kings may seem like a little bit of an odd fit on paper with the DeRozan addition, but the talent upgrade from Harrison Barnes is undeniable. Wow, look at SB Nation. Add in Sacramento's brilliant re-signing of Malik Monk, and this team has enough speed and shooting on the perimeter to cause real fits for opponents. It's a real bummer that rookie Devin Carter is out for 6 months, but he still could see some time in the second half of the season, and he's poised to be a great fit for this team. If Keegan Murray takes another step and or Kevin Huerter returns to form, Sacramento could be cooking. The Kings have a legitimate big 3 in DeRozan, Fox, and Sabonis, and a much better collection of role players than most teams with so much top-end talent. There are no off nights in the West, but the Kings feel like a playoff team.
Wow.
The other teams mentioned in this, which we will not go through the entire write-up, they have the Memphis Grizzlies, they have the Philadelphia 76ers, the Sacramento Kings, the New York Knicks, and the Houston Rockets. Well, and they threw in here the Charlotte Hornets, which is interesting because they suck. So,
well, I was going to say the Grizzlies, I mean, you could put them both in the same category because there was no Ja.
Yes, no LaMelo and no Ja last season. So I'd assume that's the synopsis of those write-ups.
There you go.
There you have it. Positive words about the Sacramento Kings. And, look at I didn't know it was possible to have a nuanced conversation about DeMar DeRozan, to acknowledge that, sometimes, in his past, he has liked to have the ball in his hands, but he's still really good. And just because he isn't a great fit doesn't mean that it's not a clear and obvious talent upgrade over Harrison Barnes. So it is very nice to hear a national writer or just national media in general understanding the nuance of the Kings situation. Like we said, you can't really always worry about fit with player acquisition. Sometimes it is really about just getting the talent in the building. And, if you have more talent, you're more than likely going to be a good team unless that fit is just so catastrophic. Right. It makes no sense at all. And I think we've detailed enough throughout this entire summer why, yes, there might be some hiccups when it comes to the DeRozan fit, but in the long run, he does so many things well. He'll find his spots to definitely improve this roster.
Yeah, and the Timberwolves, look, they're not perfect, right? They're still trying to get to a finals and obviously win a finals, but a lot of people think they'll be a top 2 team in the West, at worst top 3.
Yeah.
What would you say was a more questionable fit? The Timberwolves doing their deal or the Kings doing their deal?
I would definitely say the Timberwolves, more so because the Timberwolves went against the grain. Like the Timberwolves said, oh, everybody is moving towards one center. We're going to get big. We're going to have Karl Anthony Towns, and we're going to have Rudy Gobert, and we're going to keep Naz Reid as well. I think that was just completely them saying, I don't care what modern basketball says it is. We think that this is a major inefficiency that we're going to exploit. The DeRozan thing is just basketball. It's just like it's just, hey, this guy tends to be isolation heavy. You guys tend to move the ball more than anybody in the league. That causes some confusion, but that can, to me, easily be fixed by either the Kings lean a little bit more, and I'm sure it's going to be, again, a happy marriage of both. Either the Kings lean a little bit more into, hey, let's let DeRozan have some isolation, and DeMar, you're going to have to play a little bit more within the system. The Rudy Gobert thing is just, hey, modern spacing, I don't know. And, they really still haven't quite figured it out. Their offense was good last year, but a lot of that is because Anthony Edwards was just so individually ridiculous. And they did figure out the spacing thing a little bit, but there were still some moments last year where the Timberwolves had to pick one of, or at least two of Cat and Gobert and Reed. And a lot of the times Gobert was out of that. So, it still is a little bit confusing of a fit, but they just have so much talent. It works out. I think that the Minnesota one was just a little bit tougher to solve. To me, the Kings one is just personalities. If DeMar seems like a nice guy, seems like the kind of winner who is willing to do whatever it takes for the team to win, I would think he's willing to sacrifice some of his ego in order to fit more into the team. And I do think the Kings bring in DeMar DeRozan and understand, look, we have to sacrifice some of our identity in order to make this work as well. So to me, it's just, they're both not perfect fits, but to me, the Kings one is just a little bit easier to solve. And Minnesota solved theirs pretty easily as well. So that's really why I don't have much fear that the Kings will figure out some version of a good team here.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the other teams and moves that they've made and whether or not something makes or doesn't make sense. I mean, you're not even arguing fit. It's like you said, personality. It's more about, hey, you're not going to have the ball as much. You cool with that?
Yeah.
You're going to have to shoot more, from receiving a pass. You're not going to have as much time to cook. Are you cool with that? Maybe your numbers look a little bit different. Are you cool with that versus, oh yeah, we're literally housing three centers that play a lot of basketball on the same team, and nobody else is doing that. Luckily, yes, Karl Anthony Towns can stretch the floor, but this is what we're doing. So I don't even think it's close. I mean, and granted, Timberwolves did get ripped. They got ripped.
They got torn to shreds. But they also sucked for an entire year.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like they made the trade, people complained, and then they immediately proved people wrong. There was a lot of proof of concept that one year where they didn't figure it out. And then I think they just really, really hyper-focused on how do we make this work. And I think Jalen McDaniels or I don't know, whichever the other McDaniels that's on the Timberwolves, he definitely took a massive leap last year, and I think that helped the situation a little bit.
The year that the Timberwolves did suck was in part because Karl Anthony Towns missed 55 games during that season. And when he came back, their defense was like number one in the league the last month of the season.
Yeah. So hopefully the Kings can follow that model in a different way. And look, I think we're all fairly sure that they're going to be better. It's just a matter of how much better. Speaking of the new teammates and new additions, DeMar DeRozan and Domas worked out at USC, and Domas had some things to say after the workout. We play that for you when we return. Stiles and Watkins, Sactown Sports.
Hi, this